we're going to talk about some of his insights regarding higher education in this session. And, just for the audience's, uh, just to reintroduce yourself to the audience, tell us a little bit about you, Kevin.
Well, I'm in my 12th year at Allan Hancock College. I've been doing education-related work for essentially my whole career. So starting, in the early 90s, I was a high school teacher and worked on education policy for the Utah legislature after I finished my coursework for my doctorate, and then transitioned over into higher education. So I'm really happy to be here on the coast, and it's a great place to live, and it's a great college to be a part of.
Yeah, I know you grew up in Texas, not Austin, right? Austin is like another area or another state or something.
So we were an Air Force family, and so we bounced around a lot. But home base was Dallas, where my grandparents lived, and but I spent 6th through 10th grade in Austin when my dad was stationed there, and then he retired, and we went back to Dallas. And then as quickly as I could, I got back to the University of Texas. So spent a good chunk of my life in living in Austin, and left Texas in 1996, and I've been gone for almost 30 years. So,
UT Longhorns.
Longhorns.
I
that's
got
correct.
that one right.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not that sports guy, but something about Longhorns, doesn't leave once it's in your head. You got them, Kevin. We want to in this session talk about higher education and specifically the challenges and the opportunities, providing a diverse educational choices. There's a lot of choices out there for education. We talked about the private sector education, public education, community college education, CSU, the UC system, leaving the state, heading for another opportunity for education, technical college. There's so many different ways to approach higher education. Tell us about your alternative pathways that Hancock offers for success for our young people.
Well, I think the most important thing that Hancock and all of the California community colleges do is offer an affordable gateway into higher education. It's $46 a unit. If you're in the non-credit community ed program, it's free. We can provide you with the skills you need. But I think it's really critical to understand, what happens when you go to some of these other types of colleges, especially the private for-profits. They're I call them predatory institutions. They won't make you promises of financial aid, and a lot of students end up finding out too late that their financial aid was actually a loan. So these predatory institutions are doing a variety of things that are unscrupulous. That includes, tricking people into taking out expensive loans. They will get veterans, especially, to use up all of their veterans benefits, and all of that just goes right into their pockets. The pockets of the owners of these companies or the shareholders of these large companies, and it's truly despicable what happens with those organizations. And some of them have closed down recently. Wyotech has closed down. ITT has closed down. Unfortunately, DeVry continues to. If you go to DeVry and you look at how much it costs to go there, their financial aid packet is very deceptive. And if you don't know what you're looking for, you're going to end up with a big loan that you may not be able to pay back.
This is really important information, and I got to stop you there for a second, because we had a prior guest in here with us, Jacob. I'm not going to remember who it is at the moment. We were talking about education, and we talked about FAFSA, and I was stunned, Kevin, to learn that a lot of people Jacob's age, who's already graduated, don't know how to access their FAFSA benefits. It seemed to me that was the thing that, there's probably a class. I mean, I'm outside of it for, let's not talk about how long I've been out of it. But it's been a very, very, very long time. Let's put it that way. But I just assumed that there was a class in the 11th grade that was offered for kids to understand FAFSA. And it seems to me, with what you're explaining now, it would be the perfect opportunity to educate our kids about the opportunities and how to avoid some of the bad choices they
Well, I think it's important to understand what FAFSA is. So FAFSA is an application, right? It's the free application for federal student aid. And that's how you get a Pell Grant. And I mean, that's the basic tool for getting a Pell Grant. And then a lot of schools use that, including Hancock, to drive other kinds of financial aid that you could receive. The states the state, what used to be called the Board of Governors waiver, which is a tuition waiver, is now called the California College Promise Grant, right?
Okay,
So
right.
the CCPG.
Right.
So if you're a graduating high school student in North County and you don't know what the FAFSA is, I don't often say this about students. That's on the student, because we know the Santa Maria High School District requires students to fill out the FAFSA. We know that Orchid requires them to fill out the FAFSA. Lompoc doesn't require it, but most of their students do it as well. Santa Ynez fills it out. And if they're coming to Hancock and they want to be Promise students, because remember at Hancock, we offer 2 years,
2 years
free
yes.
tuition. If you want to be a Promise student at Hancock, you have to fill that out. And you can come to the campus and we'll help you out and we'll help you get that filled out. So what's more concerning is the bad actors who are out there that, especially in urban areas, in the larger cities, will try to trick parents into, well, if you'll pay us, we'll help you we'll fill out the form.
Thank you for that.
And
yes.
So it's the first word in FAFSA, the first F stands for free, right? This is you don't have to pay to fill it out. And this past year, they tried to upgrade the system, and it was a debacle. I mean, it was terrible. The Department of Education completely dropped the ball on this, and students scrambled. Our financial aid team is still scrambling to make sure that students get the financial aid that they're allowed to get, because it's important. I mean, college is expensive, and not just the tuition. I mean, we can only, we're only charging $46 a unit, but you still got to pay for living. You still got to pay for transportation. So we want to make sure students have that, because, it's really easy to say, oh, why aren't we giving, I didn't get that back in my day. Well, the reality is you did get that back in your day, right? We got that. I went to school in the mid 80s.
Yeah.
I went to the University of Texas when there was protests because they tripled tuition the year before. They tripled tuition in 1 year. It went from $4 a unit to $12 a unit. And there were protests on the campus. Imagine today, students at the University of Texas who are paying $10,000 a semester, thinking about, you were mad about $12 a unit. I mean, it's insane. The way that legislatures have defunded higher education and placed the burden of paying for that on families is really a really poor policy decision.
Well,
and it's not red state, blue state. It's every state has done that.
It's a disservice to our combined future.
Right. We used our nation used to believe that an investment in undergraduate education was valuable.
Yeah.
And we saw that was true. I mean, that was the whole, from the 1950s on, we started investing in undergraduate education. And now that, there's a lot of people who are in power now who they got their education and they're willing to close the door behind them.
Right.
And,
burn the bridge.
Yeah.
When we came to California, this was at the end of the last century.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a long time ago.
That was a long time ago.
It actually was. But we came with our youngest was in the 7th grade at that point. And one of the things that I remember we talked about, the reason to leave the East Coast and come to California, was the education opportunity that would be afforded to our youngest. And things changed dramatically between 7th grade and the 12th grade. And it ended up costing us a lot of money to put her through college. But, that's an experience that we went through when we got here. And she did well. She went through the UC system, and then she came back and went to PCPA, by the way. She's a PCPA graduate. And then she went on to Hollywood and did her thing. And she's not in Hollywood anymore. She's pursuing a higher degree at University of Utah today. And she got her starts here.
That's where I got my doctorate.
Oh, all right. Yeah. So, switching gears a little bit, the commitment that Hancock makes to meeting the community needs. When I say that, I think of the community as this big organization, right? Mm-hmm. We've got all of these players in our community, all of these industries, all of the sectors, all of the different types of populations that we have to serve. What does it mean to you to commit to meeting the needs?
There's a couple of things that we're doing. So we do some things on our own. I go back 5-6 years ago when hemp was going to be the new crop, right? Everybody was excited about it, but the new the agriculture department had opened it up, and the Congress had opened it up where you could do demonstration projects for hemp, right? So you could so farmers could partner with an institution of higher education and actually grow hemp, and it was to be used for the non-cannabis type stuff. You could make rope out of it. There were all these great things they were going to do with it. And the local farmers, we had some local farmers who wanted to try this, and they couldn't get anybody else. Cal Poly wouldn't touch it. We're not going to do. So we spun up in 6 weeks a hemp research program. We had students working in it, and the farmers were able to go out and grow the hemp, and our students were able to go out and help the farmers understand how to keep it from pollinating, how to keep the THC levels down to where it would still be hemp and not something else. And it was a really cool thing. Now, as it turned out, it was not the great money-making thing that I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that it's expensive to grow anything here, and when hemp is a weed, so you can throw it in the ground in Kentucky or the panhandle of Oklahoma or wherever it's going to grow, right?
A lot of places,
so it. But we saw a community need. The community came to us and said we need to do something, and we're like, we'll do it. Let's go. We'll make it happen. We've spun up a truck driving program, which
outstanding.
So we're doing, because it's some of these. We're talking about these predatory institutions. Some of these truck driving schools will charge people $8,000 or $10,000 to learn how to drive a truck. Doesn't take that, right? So we actually have the program. How much is it? $0. It's free. So we're actually sending people into the workforce to get jobs in high need areas, and they're pretty good paying jobs. So
I've seen your truck.
Yeah, we have
Brilliant.
a beautiful Texas burnt orange cab too. It's so nice.
Where'd you get that idea?
It actually was a happy coincidence, but we would have had it Hancock blue. Actually, would have been the better way to go. Yeah. So
diversity.
But there's a couple things that are those are things we're doing on our own. Partnerships are going to be the future, and so Marion Hospital came to us and said, we need more radiographers. We need more people that can be the radiography technicians. And we said, okay, great. And so we started looking into what it takes to start a radiography program. You can imagine the equipment is excessively expensive,
costly,
which the hospital said they would help with. We're going to have to hire faculty. We're going to have to get accredited. That's probably a 2-year process. And so as we thought about it, we're like, well, Santa Barbara City has a program. Why don't we just invite Santa Barbara City to come up here and start another cohort in Santa Maria? And they can keep all the enrollments from that. They can so starting this year, students can actually get into our pre-radiology program where they take all the courses you need to go into radiology, and then starting in fall of 25, they will be taking radiology programs through Santa Barbara City College right here in Santa Maria, and we'll be able to serve the need. Those are the kind of things that can happen when you're not worried about who's getting paid and who's getting credit, as long as the community is getting what they need. So that's what we're doing.
Thank you for that, because that last statement is the thing that I think we should all hang on. There is no limit to what we can accomplish if it doesn't matter who gets the credit.
Right.
I've been saying that for years. I get to run a United Way. I'm one of the luckiest 1,000 people in this country. There's only 1,000 of us. And that gives me that opportunity to work with a lot of organizations like you guys. We've done a lot with you folks through the college with our community engagement processes here. And that's something I'd like to bring you back to talk about, because we are out of time. But I want to take a moment first to thank you. Thank Jacob for your technical assistance, and Kevin Walthers, thank you for joining us again here at the Podcast Center. Any closing statements you'd like to share with us?
No, I think we're excited about what's going on the coast between Hancock and Santa Barbara City College, Cuesta College. We're all working together to make sure that we can help grow the economy and grow our community.
That'll be a great topic for us to open up. If you'll come back and join us about community engagement, I think is something we should discuss next time. This has been Community Voices with the Northern Santa Barbara County United Way. This is Eddie Taylor. We'll talk to you the next time.